Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. There's plenty to get into, but it's not all transfer news because we've got some very interesting quotes from Erik ten Hag post the game with Rangers. Thanks everyone who tuned in for the watch along earlier, but we're going to be talking about where we are with transfers because amongst all the watch along and the chat about that, there's been stuff going on. We've got big updates on Rabiot and Simmons that might not be the updates you want. We've also got another update on Zubimendi, but we're going to start off talking about Ugarte and Ligt. What have you missed today? Some of you might have seen it, but we'll give you the updates. That's what we're here to do. Get your comments in as per usual, because one thing with Manchester United is it never stops. It might not have started with some Premier League clubs, but with Man United, it never seems to stop this summer, and there is a multitude of avenues we could go down. So where are we? Well, the latest from Fabrizio Romano in relation to Ugarte is that Ugarte has said yes to Manchester United. It's basically a come and get me. He wants Manchester United. Do Manchester United want him? Well, we've certainly expressed enough interest to make him want to come. Personal terms have already been agreed. They were agreed a few days ago, as Fabrizio said. Where we are now is that negotiations are ongoing between PSG and Manchester United. But Fabrizio has said it could take some days before we enter into the final stages, i.e. here we go. For some reason, I'm getting the word Wednesday, and I don't know why, but certainly, I think we are into the final stages of Ugarte. Very well, you know what? I say we're into the final stages. It feels like we're into the final stages, but then everybody's been briefed today, from the Manchester Evening News to the Daily Mail and everybody. They've been briefed today that Zubimendi is a target for Man United as well. So I feel that United are trying to do what they've been doing quite well this summer, which is, and I've said it a few times, pivot. And I just wonder if where we are with Ugarte is he wants to come to United, come and get me, but PSG are playing this game about the fee that they want, and United are sort of like, well, we'll play the game a little bit. I've played the game though, and if you piss about too much, we're going to put our irons into other fires. And I feel that might be what's going on there, because the Zubimendi stuff has definitely been verified as true, that United are interested in Zubimendi. Now, United can say they're interested in a few players, but it just keeps PSG on their toes. It gets Ugarte a little bit tetchy, because remember, this will be coming from his side as well. You know, you clearly want to sell me. Man United's the place I want to go, and if you piss about too much and they go and get somebody else, I'm up shit creek without a paddle. So I think I think Ugarte gets done. I'm pretty much 80% sure that we'll get him. I think he's 8 out of 10 on the Hotometer on the morning show, and I think that's where we are. But isn't it a nice position to be in though with Manchester United, where it's a new position to be in, where we've got players that want to come to our club. And whether we get them or not, we're in control. Like, you've got Ugarte who wants to come to Manchester United. And effectively, if he comes to United or not, it will be down to us. And we will decide to move to somebody else and blame it on PSG, or we will follow through. And it's very similar with Branthwaite, because we can sit here with Jared Branthwaite and say, we agreed personal terms. You wanted to come. We wanted you. We can't turn water into wine. We're not Jesus. We are Manchester United. And some people might think that we are a religion, and that's fantastic. But we might be able to win trebles, but we can't turn water into wine, Jared, and we cannot make Everton accept a bid that is a fair bid. So we've had to go and look at other people. And I think effectively, that could happen with Ugarte. That could happen with Ligt. It could be a case where United go, we really, really, really want you, but we can't just be all in on... I think United have made it publicly very, very clear, if you've got a brain, we don't want to be... We've looked at what we know as fans has been the big problem for years, where what was the problem with the Maguire transfer? What was the problem with the Pogba transfer? What was the problem with the Wan-Bissaka transfer? What was the problem with the Jadon Sancho transfer? I'll tell you what the problem was, instead of listing a load more. We only had a plan A. We had nowhere to go. We wanted that player. The clubs that were selling knew we were all in, and that makes you very weak at negotiating, because we decided that that was the player that we wanted, and therefore Leicester, Dortmund, Juventus and Crystal Palace knew we weren't going to go anywhere else and knew they could just bide their time and get what they wanted, and they did. And the agents of those players got what they wanted as well in relation to wages for their client. Whereas I think any idiot would walk into Man United and go, there's so many. It's like what Jim Radcliffe said. You know, you lift the bonnet up, there's a few issues that you knew were going to be there, and then there's a load more that you weren't aware of. And I think, you know, you walk in at United and you know straight away, if you want Jared Branthwaite, make sure you've got 2 other options as well that you're happy with. Because traditionally, Man United would still be there with Everton going, oh, please though, but please though, but please though, but please though. And we would end up giving them what they wanted. So it'll be interesting with Ugarte. I think the deal will happen, but we must never, never, ever anymore dismiss the fact that we might just go, okay, we're not getting anywhere with you, PSG. We've been talking to Sociedad. They're more realistic. We're signing Zubimendi. And that could easily happen. Nick Kazi says that Lenny was flawless today. Well, we're going to talk about some of Ten Hag's comments about Lenny Yoro, but more importantly about AMAD. What a statement by Ten Hag. This has to be AMAD's year. We'll talk about that in a minute. He said he is not an inexperienced player anymore. This has got to be his year. Knocking on the door, which is exactly what we want, straight on Ten Hag's mouth. But we'll talk about the transfer stuff through first. So, yeah, I think with Ugarte, we will get this deal done, but not at the detriment of our reputation and standing. If PSG don't want to get real, we will walk. I think we know that. But there will be a pressure on PSG because they want João Neves, and there will be a pressure from the player's side because he wants us. And as I said, is that not a nice position to be in? I can't remember the last time we were in this position where players want to come to us, we want them, but if the selling club pisses about, we will walk away from the player that wants to come to us and blame it on the club that won't sell for a fair price. So let's wait and see what happens. Fabrizio says next few days for here we go. If it's going to happen, we're apparently getting close to it. I think it will happen, but if it doesn't, as I said to you yesterday, don't be surprised if we did suddenly pivot onto somebody else. Apparently we won't be pivoting onto Rabiot or Simmons though. This is coming from the Telegraph tonight, that we won't be pivoting to them. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let me just catch up on some of your comments. Peter Fazzi, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. Get your badge in. Jeffrey says, I just wish we could sim the Community Shield game. With many first team players not available, it might affect our start to the season. We really need a good start, says Jeffrey. Yeah, I mean, that Man City game, I think I see it another way. I think, you know, it doesn't really matter because it's only the Community Shield, but it's a really competitive friendly a week before Fulham. So we won't go into that game Fulham cold. And if we take a beating, then I think it gives us more focus for the Fulham game on the Friday night. So I'm not too worried about it. Tyrese says it's very good to see United doing the right things this summer, acting fast and recruiting well. Such a difference from what we've suffered before. Thank you very much, Tyrese, for your super chat. Yoro and AMAD looked good today, says Alex. Mr. Game 0611, thank you very much. Hayden, welcome to the Members Club. And Dennis says, I cannot believe I'm alive to see this change Man United team. All right, Dennis, chill out. It's nice, though. It's nice. And Narnbread says, Ten Hag must start AMAD over Sancho. Sends the wrong message out. Oh, man, I think AMAD's miles ahead of Sancho, mate. Miles ahead of Sancho. And I think AMAD will be valued more than Sancho because, you know, look at between Christmas and March last year. Free AMAD. Did he cause any problems? No. He waited and he took his chance. Manchester United are close to agreeing an agreement with PSG for the transfer of Manuel Ugarte, according to @Santi_JF. Yeah, but that source, mate, that's not a source. That, you know, I'm aware of who that is, and they're right as much as they're wrong. Let's leave it to the professionals. Anyway, let's carry on. So I want to just talk about... So come and get me from Ugarte. Let's see what happens. We are interested in Zubimendi. Mark, I would sell McTominay and Casemiro and sign Ugarte and Zubimendi. I don't know where you're going to get the money from that, Rudy. I would love to do that. Where are we with the centre-back? This is an important update. So it's worth sharpening the minds on this. If Ugarte is saying, come and get me, I want to be part of the Manchester United project, then certainly De Ligt is as well. Ten Hag, we spoke about on the morning show, wants De Ligt, but it was Ineos who presented him as an option, and he's obviously very happy about that. So they do want the player. Bayern Munich are playing games on how much they want for the player. De Ligt wants Man United. Come and get me. So where are we at with this? Well, I think we are crying out for a player of that quality. Johnny Evans and Yoro, good 2 options. We saw that today. But we need another 2 good options. We've got Martinez. We need to sign a centre-back. And De Ligt is clearly what Ineos like. It's clearly what Ten Hag likes. And to be honest, I think it's clearly what the fan base like. We need to get that deal done. How quickly we can get it done, I don't know. But we do need to get that deal done. I think Bayern Munich are in a position where they will do that deal with us. And I expect it to get done. But we still have got probably 2 weeks before De Ligt would be back in pre-season training with Bayern Munich anyway. So I think Ugarte takes precedence. But the centre-back situation now has become pretty... We almost need another name. Because like we talk about pivoting away from Branthwaite to Yoro or Ugarte to Zubimendi, we don't really have a pivot option at the moment at centre-back. You know, everybody knows Ineos wants De Ligt. Everybody knows Ten Hag wants De Ligt. Bayern Munich know that. And the price is sort of a lockdown point at the moment. We do need another option because Branthwaite's not happening. We've had that update this afternoon. I mentioned it on the watch along. David Ornstein, obviously very good brief from Everton. Everton saying that they don't need to sell Jared Branthwaite and they won't be selling Jared Branthwaite. So I think Everton have got to the point where the 2 bids have offended them. It's like turning up to Christmas and gifting somebody a Ferrari, isn't it? Oh, I'm offended. I expected a gold-plated one. So Everton, I think, have had enough of our bids and have basically said that they won't be selling him anyway. I think it's the best thing Everton have said all summer, really. It makes our job a lot easier to know that they're not going to sell him because at least we don't have to wait around now thinking we're going to bid again. Because I tell you what, if Everton sell him to us now, they look weak. You can't go back on that now. You look weak. So Branthwaite's off the table. We need a centre-back. De Ligt becomes very, very, very much the favourite. And I still think it will happen, but I do think we need to... Well, we may even need to bring another centre-back in anyway, because we might want to bring a left-footer in as well. But I think that just looking at other centre-back options, Todibo is apparently close to Newcastle or Juventus. I forget which one. Obviously, Yoro's already here. Branthwaite's not going to happen. So De Ligt is very much still come and get me, and United are very much negotiating as they are with PSG. But it wouldn't be a bad idea if we brought another centre-back into the equation, because it just sharpens minds, doesn't it? And I think ideally we might have pivoted towards Guehi at Crystal Palace, but I think the fact that he had a good Euros has made Crystal Palace start behaving like Everton. They want 60 to 70 million, which is just going to be too much for us. So I don't know. I don't know whether another centre-back comes into this, but we could do with one just so that we're not locked down with Bayern, because at the moment it looks very obvious that De Ligt's the guy we want and there's nobody else. And I think it's proved as it's done as good this summer when we've had a couple of irons in the fire. We also need a competent left back. Can't be sure of Luke's fitness ongoing, says Ginger Red 68. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not surprised the mention of fullbacks. As I've said before, I'm quite relaxed about that. I think the club's quite relaxed about that. I know some of you aren't. We will get a left back. We will get a right back if Wan-Bissaka goes as well. We will make those signings, but there's not major urgency around it, because whilst Wan-Bissaka's not been sold, you can always play Dalot at left back. And whilst Luke Shaw's fit, Luke Shaw will be playing at left back. So we do need to buy a left back. But you never know. Man United might be looking at it. And this is the other side of the transfer window as well. We're working a lot quicker than everybody else is at the moment. We're doing some good stuff at the moment. But there will be some good deals to be done in the last 2 weeks of the August transfer window. Well, the summer transfer window. There's a lot of clubs who aren't doing anything. And that, to me, means that we're going to end up with either the worst transfer window the Premier League's ever had. I mean, not for us, we're doing well, but there's not a lot of business going on. So we're either going to have the worst summer transfer window we've ever had in the Premier League, or we're going to have the most chaotic in August. And I think that the latter is more likely, and therefore I think there's going to be a lot of deals going on in the last 2 weeks of the summer transfer window, and therefore I think Man United might be looking at some of their left-back options and going, their price is going to come down in the last couple of weeks of the window, and maybe that's what we're waiting on. Rudy says Eriksen and Casemiro get us Ugarte, McTominay and Hannibal get us Zubimendi. I don't think they do though, mate, because Ugarte is going to cost you 50 and Zubimendi is going to cost you 50, and you're not making that from McTominay, Hannibal, Eriksen and Casemiro. Alex Wing says, what about Diamonde at Sporting? Well, what about Anacho at Sporting as well? It's gone very quiet on him. Also, do you think Ineos will buy more players like Yoro who have a high resale value to help with the clearing of the debt, says Stuart? I don't think that's the strategy with Yoro. I genuinely don't think that's the strategy with Yoro. We've just spent £52 million on him. You know, there's never been a £100 million centre-back. So the profit on Yoro is only 30 to 40 million if you sell him for 100. So I don't think that's the strategy there. He may well get sold, but I don't think that's the strategy. I think the strategy is to buy good players. And if you buy good players, they've got a resale value anyway. I mean, it's not it's not easy to buy good players that have resale value. We've been trying it for 10 years. So I think the strategy is to buy players that are worth it. Simple as that. Because you can go through the list of all the players we've spent a lot of money on over the last 10 years. What's their value 2 years later? And very rarely is it bigger. I think Bruno Fernandes is probably one of the only players I can think of that we spent decent money on and actually went up in value. Fly Skyer, thank you very much for being a member. Thank you very much for that. Let's talk Rabiot. Let's talk Simmons. Oh God, bloody hell, that was scary. Forgetful Bridge. So the latest with regards to them is coming in from the Telegraph. Basically, what has been said from James Ducker is there's a lot of admiration from Manchester United for Xavi Simons and Adrien Rabiot, but at the moment, neither are likely this summer. So that sort of is from the club. You know, I think there are a collection of journalists that basically get briefed from the club. I'm not saying I'm not saying Man United Football Club are ringing them up, but what I'm saying is Simon Stone, James Ducker, Laurie Whitwell, they're the sort of journalists that when they say stuff like that, they're getting told it by somebody who knows. I think that it sort of makes sense, if I'm being honest. You do wonder what we always wondered about Xavi Simons and Rabiot. It felt like, and I'm not going to say this anymore because you already should know it, we have a 5 principle of transfers strategy in the United stand because we've been doing this for years. And we felt that with Rabiot and Simmons, it could well be the agent of those players utilising our name to generate interest. And I think that's what's happened here. Because everybody knows Man United are doing well in the transfer window. And everybody knows that Man United can move quickly on a deal. So if you say Man United are interested in Rabiot, it gets those clubs who are interested in Rabiot to move a bit quicker. And if you say that Man United are looking to swoop in and get Simmons, who PSG are trying to do a deal in Germany with, well, those clubs in Germany will think, well, we know that they're in talks with PSG. Maybe that's what they are trying to do, and that deal could get wrapped up very quickly. So it looks like with Simmons and Rabiot, we've just been used a little bit our name, which will happen. You know, it will happen. It's not actually happened as much as I thought it would this summer, but you know, normally we've done it in the past where you can count the amount of players we've been linked to in a summer transfer window, and it very easily goes over 100 very, very quickly. So, you know, 99% of players that we get linked to is normally bollocks, but this summer that hasn't really been the case. But yeah, I think with Rabiot, we have obviously looked at him in the last couple of years, but it does feel like free agent Man United name being used. So it doesn't look like Rabiot is a possibility, and it doesn't look like Simmons is a possibility either. Which leads me on to a point of, you know, like when we were linked to Simmons, I think it was a couple of weeks ago actually, and you know, when we were linked to Elise and we wanted Elise, we were clearly looking at wingers, weren't we? I mean, there's no doubt about that, or creatives. And it's very interesting. Do you think we still are looking for that sort of Simmons, Danny Elmo, Chiesa sort of player? Or do you think it's over now because Sancho's back? Because when you... excuse me, got something in my throat. When you think about it, we have got a lot of options creatively. You've got Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, AMAD, Pellistri, Sancho, Mount, Bruno. So you've got 8 creatives who are not strikers. And also Xerxes can play as a creative. So do we need to buy an Elise or a Simmons or anything like that? Now, Ian mentions Frimpong. This is where I think Frimpong becomes an open goal because he's a right back and he's a creative. You know, you could play Delo and you could play Frimpong if you wanted to. I think Frimpong would be a very, very clever signing for Manchester United because going forward, he's ridiculously creative, but you can also play him as a right back. But that's by the by. Do we think we're going to buy creative? And I don't think we are. I don't think we are because I think if we'd sold Sancho, which probably was never going to happen, and if we'd sold Rashford, which was never going to happen, then you can sort of see why we were going for Elise. But it always intrigues me why we were after Elise and how that was actually going to work. But I want to talk about this in a minute. Tarek says, don't we need a better goalkeeper? Can we trust Onana? You know, I'm not saying it's a massive topic, but there's a few people I've noticed on the chat for the match reaction, also on the watch along, also on social media, saying the same thing as you, Tarek, that you're not 100% sure about Onana, which is an interesting topic. We'll talk about that. But as I was saying there, this is what Erik ten Hag had to say about AMAD after the game. This has to be AMAD's year. We have to see AMAD in a different way. He's not inexperienced anymore. I trust him. That is really, really strong words from this manager. Very strong words. And I think we saw at the end of last season what he can be. And we've seen it again today in pre-season. And people can say, well, it's only pre-season. But why didn't everyone else do it then? Why was AMAD an 8 out of 10 and everyone else was a 6 or 7? So I think that AMAD was very impressive today and he should have had 2 assists. And that in itself is something we don't have. Somebody who's actually creative. So I just don't, I'm not sure. For me, I think we've got Xerxes and Yoro. You get De Ligt, Ugarte, a left back, a right back. And that's it. Maybe another midfielder. But I don't think we actually do need another winger at the moment. Because I think we've got lots of options there. But that's just my thought. And also Ten Hag had this to say about Sancho. We spoke well. Everyone can make a mistake. We draw a line and we move on. This club needs good players. And one thing is certain. Jadon is a very good player. I hope it will click and contribute to our success. So, look, I'm not convinced by that, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it's not sincere. And I'm not saying that's not the plan from Ten Hag, the club and Sancho. But I think there's a lot been done and said to just move past this. I mean, look, the onus is on Jadon. It's not as simple as just cooking in pre-season. He's got to be. He's literally got to sit there with a happy face for the next 6 months. And if he's on the bench and he's not getting game time, he's got to be happy with that. That's the redemption arc. It's not going to be straight into the team you're playing every week just to keep you happy. He's going to have to work ridiculously hard to earn that respect and trust back. And he might find himself in the team, but it's unlikely he will find himself in the team at the start of the season. So if he's staying at Man United, he's literally got to apply himself week in, week out, day in, day out, and face up to the fact that he's probably going to start as 4th choice winger. And that's the battle he's got in front of him. Now, if he wants that battle and he can win that battle, respect. But that is a very big battle to take on board. And that's if everything goes well. But certainly, if we are keeping Sancho and we are keeping AMAD, and we know we're keeping Garnacho and Rashford, there's no logic to bringing in another winger, in my opinion. I don't think we need another winger. So yeah, that's sort of where we are at the moment with that. Michael says some fans have an agenda against our goalkeeper. Well, let's just talk about the goalkeeper very, very quickly. I'll just do your super chats, then we'll do that. I think we're not being used as much now is because we know what we are doing, whereas before we didn't know our arse from an elbow, says Ray about the transfers. I agree with the guy earlier, says Tusha. I don't trust Onana. We need a better goalkeeper. Danny says, do you think Anthony's going to start to improve? If he can't turn it around this upcoming season, mainly his decision-making, I can't see him staying. Can I just add something in about Anthony, Danny? The only thing that worries me about Anthony at the moment is his fitness. I don't know whether, we convene every day, a couple of times a day. We watch every game. We consume every bit of news. And I'll tell you something now that's not speculation. Over the 2 years Anthony's been here, he picks up a lot of knocks. It never really gets mentioned, but he's injured a lot. He is injured a lot. He picks up a lot of knocks. You go back and think about it over the last 2 years. I'm not talking about the case in Brazil and the UK where he might have been arrested. I'm talking about actual availability. He picks up a lot of knocks. And you know what? Pre-season, massive season, he's injured again. And I know it's only a knock, but Ahmad's just torn it up today. Sancho played 45 minutes. Anthony's not played any minutes in the first 2 games. And he's already behind Ahmad, Rashford and Garnacho. So my worry about Anthony is, I don't know if it's bad luck or whatever, but he just seems to always be too far behind. And again, he's behind again, isn't he? He is behind Ahmad, definitely. He might even be behind Sancho. And Garnacho and Rashford aren't even back yet. So let's see if the trust translates into game time, since United won. Cancelo is leaving Barca. There's been no news with him on clubs. How would they feel if Man United went for him, says Mikey. But I like Cancelo as a player, but can you get him from Man City? Ahmad's better than Sancho, says Connor. Mark, Man United still need open heart surgery. Some players are still there, need to go, says Game Mix. Mark, we don't need a better goalkeeper. Can we trust Onana? Says Tarek, we've done that one. I don't understand the De Ligt thing. Juve and Bayern both wanted Rid soon into his contract. Can't get in the Dutch team. There's way better, says Darren. Any news on Obi Martin from Arsenal? If we can get Zubamende, he's underrated. Would love that signing, says Omar. I've not heard anything on that 16-year-old from Arsenal, no. Looks like we'll get him, though. I think they wanted Branthwaite so he can cover centre-back and left-back as well. Bit like what Aki does at City, says Dazza. I don't think Branthwaite's a left-back, if I'm being honest, Dazzo. I really, really don't. Let's just have a quick chat about Onana then, because a lot of people are talking about that. I think with Onana, I get it. I want to just say that I get it. I understand what you're talking about. There was a look, I know it's pre-season, but goalkeeping's goalkeeping and finishing's finishing. You can't just say it's. Look at the way Joe Hugill took that goal. Pre-season is pre-season, but there are basics that you can do. I said it in the first half. I thought we were a little bit sloppy at times with some of our passing. And yes, it's pre-season, but we're a bit sloppy with passes you'd expect to make. There was a point in the second half where I think Onana came for a cross and it looked like a bloody circus show. But where I disagree with this is that Onana, what impressed me about Onana when he was at Ajax, I didn't see loads of him at Inter Milan, if I'm being honest. And I didn't see loads of him at Ajax. But like Maignan and Donnarumma, you do get to see these goalkeepers. It's not, you're not watching them every week, far from it. But you get to know about. I don't know what it is about goalkeepers, but you can probably name 20 goalkeepers who don't play in the Premier League and you'd know about them. Oblak, people like that. You know what they're like as goalkeepers. And I think Onana always had that reputation for being a really good sweeper keeper, play the ball out from the back. And that's what he is. And Arsenal went from a decent keeper in Ramsdale to a sweeper keeper in Raya. And Manchester United went from a very, very good goalkeeper in De Gea, who was apparently going to announce his new club, actually. But went from a very, very good goalkeeper in De Gea to Onana. Simply because they wanted to play out from the back. Now, last season, there was many issues with that team. No service into the striker, high line with a low line, midfield wide open. But we never really got to see what the goalkeeper was about as well. You cannot be a sweeper keeper with a defensive line that's on the edge of your box. Logically, you can't do that. And you can't play out from the back when you've got no left back, your centre-backs are changing all the time, your midfield's changing all the time. You know, there's no way that... For a first season, he made a lot of mistakes. Basic goalkeeping mistakes, which I think he's weak on. I've said that before. I think he stands too close to his line. I don't think he gets down quick enough compared to other goalkeepers. I think his weakness is actually the basics of goalkeeping. You know, coming for crosses. He's almost sellotape to his line at times. That can be improved upon. I think we've got a new goalkeeping coach for that, haven't we? So all that can be improved upon. But what he can't show is the main reason we bought him. We bought him to play out from the back. And we couldn't do that last year. So whilst I agree that there would be concerns around Onana's ability to shot stop and come and get crosses, the big thing I think that's going to change is the possession and playing out from the back. And that's the thing that I think we're going to see a real uptick from Onana. And I think it will start to lessen some of the concerns about his goalkeeping ability when you've got a goalkeeper that can sweep a keep, when you've got a goalkeeper that can play out from the back. And we saw it even Rangers today. He's really comfortable with the ball at his feet. And that will make a big, big difference to a team that wants to play out from the back. So I actually think we'll see a better Onana this season. Do I think he'll cost us some goals? Well, maybe, because if you think about some of the goals he cost us last year, that was nothing to do with playing out from the back. So they might happen, but I also think he will be a fundamental part of us playing out from the back too. Over the Arsenal Junior has visited several clubs. It's a fishing expedition, nothing more, says Perk. What's your opinion on Ugarte? Says Paddy. I thought he played well today. I mean, I think when it comes to the youth and who's going to break through, Collier is obviously the player that I think there's something there. I really do. I think there's a player there. I know he wasn't brilliant today, but he's not going to be brilliant every week anyway. I thought he was good today. I don't think he was brilliant, but I think Collier's going to be the one. But if someone like an Ugarte comes through, fantastic. I mean, you just don't know. Amas is a baller, says Crash. I don't think Amas, to me, looks ready quite yet. That doesn't mean he won't be ready in a month. But I think people are very eager to push him into the first team, and he's only 17. There's not many left-backs that go in at 17 years of age. I mean, I think Gareth Barry did it at Brighton, if I remember correctly. But, he's got time on his side, and there's definitely talent there. You can see it. Castello, welcome to Members Club. You're a legend. Paul Walters, thank you. He says the wingers must learn to be creative, otherwise our strikers will get no service. Stuart says loan Sancho or Anthony with an obligation to buy. I still think there is a high chance that Sancho could go towards the end of August. He's a good player with a good reputation that I think some clubs might want. I think we are not being used. Okay, and United One says, where's Shaw? Does he really need to be on holiday? Yeah, I mean, Luke Shaw's got to go on holiday, mate. He can't go on his holiday when he's injured in the season because he's got to do his rehab. He then goes straight to a tournament in the Euros. I mean, he's not actually had a holiday or a break. I know he's been injured, but he does have to go and have a holiday. Yeah. And I as I've said before, I want our players to have as long a holiday as possible. There was people again in the watch along today saying, "Oh, I hope Bruno and Delo and Mainu are back early to go on the tour." And I'm like, I really hope they're not. The tour is exciting, but you get no points. You get no trophies. And if we get Bruno back early to go on the tour, and then in mid-November he's knackered and crap, that'll be because we didn't give him an extra week. Like, this 3 weeks, I don't want them doing anything. Recharging the mind, recharging the body, and I'll bloody love it if I was Ten Hag and I'm getting WhatsApps from Bruno saying I'm itching to come back. I'd be like, good. You might lose your place to Mason Mount. See you next week. You're not welcome. You want him to come back panicking. You want him to come, well, not panicking. You want them to be hungry. You want him to be back involved. You want him to be thinking, oh, God, look, he could be taking my place. He won't be taking his place. But Recharge is so important for Mainu. Recharge is so important for Garnacho because they're young. They're teenagers. Recharge for Martinez is so important after a really good Copa America but a bad season being injured. Recharge for Luke Shaw, the same. And recharge for Bruno, who needs it. It'd be great to see them on the tour, but we don't need to see them on the tour. You're going to see AMAD, you're going to see Yoro, you're going to see Rashford, you're going to see Mount, you're going to see Maguire, you're going to see Lindelof, you're going to see Casemiro, you're going to see Wan-Bissaka. There'll be enough on the tour to make it interesting. And that's just the way it is, isn't it? That's just the way it is. I'll tell you what was a great comment today, actually. And thank you for somebody saying something about open heart surgery, because this comment, for me, is the comment of the day. And you'll know why when I say it. So this is a quote from Erik ten Hag. Rangnick was absolutely right. We've been working very hard on that for 2 years. But he said it just right. It's thorough, very complex operation, talking about open heart surgery. And you know what? I think that's the first time we've really heard Erik ten Hag come out and say that. And, it's a vindication for all of us who, when Ralf Rangnick was in charge, we were like, this man knows what the problems are. And obviously we all remember what happened. The media treated him like a bloody PE teacher from Germany and ridiculed him and laughed at him because he wasn't somebody that knew who he was. And he sat there, press conference after press conference, but basically saying, I can't do anything with this set of players. It's toxic. It needs open heart surgery. And this is what we need to do in the summer. And what did Arnold and Murta do? They threw him to the wolves and kicked him out. And actually, it just, Ten Hag saying that, it just makes me think, what if we'd stuck to the plan? What if Rangnick had been interim and then gone straight upstairs as a sporting director and we brought Ten Hag in? We're not in a bad situation now, but where could we have been if we'd actually done what we were meant to do? Rangnick was meant to come in to steady the ship and then go upstairs. And what we did is we got him. We threw him to the wolves. But yeah, it's nice that Ten Hag has acknowledged that, because that is exactly right. And it's nice to see Ralf Rangnick getting some recognition from the club right now, because he was treated like shit and he did call it out, the problems that were there. Unfortunately, at that time, I think if Ralf Rangnick was here now, he'd be listened to by Blanc or Brailsford or Sir Jim or Dan Ashworth. But unfortunately, at that time, he was too truthful. Man United at that stage were a club that was mates rates. Keep it in-house, promote from within, protect each other's incompetence. And Rangnick was a dead man walking the minute he started talking about the problems publicly, because Arnold and Murta and everyone else saw it as somebody calling them out. And that was the end of him. Regardless of his sacking, Rangnick is a legend of this club and one of the few to stand up to the Glazers, says Alex. It's just nice to see him getting his credit from Ten Hag, because I think what we're noticing with Erik at the moment is a real honesty. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's whole conversations have taken place with Ten Hag and Ineos, and they've said, look, this is a new Man United and we want you to be honest. We don't want you to start slagging us off, but we want you to be honest. We want to build bridges with the fans, and the way to do that is they're not stupid. Let's start being honest about things. Let's start, if you're not happy with the performance, say it. If you're happy about what's going on with the transfers, say it. And I think, in some ways, it feels like a bit of an apology to Rangnick from Ten Hag. Not that Ten Hag needs to apologise, but for the manager of Man United to call out and say, Rangnick was right. If it wasn't for the fans, I mean, we always stuck by him as a community, didn't we? But if it wasn't for it's only really the fans that hold Rangnick up, and we get ridiculed for it. There's certain journalists out there that will ridicule us for it because they ridiculed Rangnick. None of them liked Rangnick. I don't remember any journalist being nice about Rangnick. They ridiculed him like the group of bullies they can be. And it was the fans who stuck up for him. And he was absolutely right. So it's nice for Ten Hag to come out and say that. And I definitely get the feeling that if this Ineos group was in charge, Rangnick would still be at the football club. Where's Shaw? Shaw's been on holiday, yes. Ten Hag is also letting the players know he's not to be messed around with this season, says Leon. And it's almost time for Love Island, says Josh. You don't watch Love Island on a Saturday night, do you? Do they even do it on a Saturday night? You can't be watching that shit on a Saturday night. You can't do that. So, yeah, look, I think, look, a thoroughly enjoyable day. I enjoyed that Rangers game. It was very, very good to see Manchester United win, but very good to walk away from a game where we had some real positives out there. The Joe Hugill goal was brilliant, and so was the AMAD goal. And I think that with regards to transfers, I really do feel like we've got, you know, what we've had going on. Sorry, I'm just reading something here. I really do feel like we've got a lot going on. I mean, I just read this. Did you read this from Romano today? Contrary to rumours, there are no plans for Manchester United and Mason Mount to part ways this summer. I'm glad I read that because I meant to bring it into the show. Where did that rumour even come from? I don't even know where that rumour came from. I mean, we just wouldn't be selling Mason Mount, would we? I mean, that would never ever happen. Never in a million years. But yeah, what was talking about? Yeah, with regards to transfers, as I said, I think the situation is pretty clear that we will certainly be moving forward on a few deals very, very soon. More deals. And, you know, we're flying out to America on Wednesday. United are. Well, we are as well. United Stand will be there. But the American tour is always a very condensed and nice time of the year, doing streams at early hours like you do during the season. And I suspect that, well, it doesn't really matter with Ugarte and Ligt because they won't go on the tour anyway. But what about an Olmo hijack, says Taff. I don't really see where Danny Olmo fits in at Man United, though. I mean, look, I don't think that happens. I mean, look, I never say never with United. You can't, can you? But I don't really see. He's a good player, but I don't really see where Danny Olmo would fit in. He's not a winger. He's a midfielder. He's an attacking midfielder. We've got Bruno. We've got Mount. AMAD could play there. Sancho can play there. He's not what we need. So I don't see us hijacking him. But then again, we were linked to Simmons, weren't we? So yeah, I don't really see that, to be honest. He's a very good player, as BC says, but I can't see that. As I said, for me, we've got Yoro. We need another centre back. We've got Ugarte talks, and we might need another midfielder. And that could be Amrabat. We've got Xerxes, and we need a right back and a left back. And once we hit that stage, I think we're pretty much ready to go. I don't expect Rome to be built in one summer. And if the money's there, you may as well try. You shouldn't we shouldn't limit ourselves. If we feel we've got the money to get the players now, let's go and get them now. You know, the amount of times United have gone, well, we needed a midfielder, but we didn't get one, so we'll get one next summer. And then next summer, there's a load of other problems to solve. So you're always chasing your tail. But I think that I quite like the idea of if there's good options, let's go and get them. But I don't expect us to solve every problem. It was a great conversation on the watch along today. Did a video on That's Football this week about Man City. That court case is in November, and the result will be by the end of the season. If that leads to what many people think will happen, that Man City get found guilty, well, this could be Man City's last season winning a Premier League title. In which case, if Man City can't win the title after this season, we better be bloody ready at the start of next season. And I think that is the way I would look at it if I was Ineos. We've got 3 transfer windows, including January, to be as ready as we can be next season. And that would be year 4 of Ten Hag's project as well. So it would all fit in nicely. I mean, look, a lot's got to go our way, but that's the way you've sort of got to look at it, I think. But Jaden says, do you think De Ligt gets signed next week? I don't think he needs to be signed next week. Obviously, next week and the week after. Well, next week we go on the tour. The week after, we're in America. And the week after that, we come back in preparation for the Community Shield. Well, Ligt and Ugarte will not be training with Man United until we come back from the tour. So we've got 2 full weeks to get those deals done. If we want them for the start of the season. It's 4 weeks yesterday until we play Fulham. So, is that right? 10 plus 15, 25. Yeah, so yeah, it's about, 16. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's right. So we've got 4 weeks really, but obviously you want them in the next 2 weeks. So I think with Ugarte and Ligt, as long as they're done in the next 2 weeks, we're fine. But there are sales to be done as well. I mean, I've not mentioned about sales, but there are sales to be done. I mean, Casemiro's got to go. It's staring us in the face. Mabry's got to go. Ericsson, I just don't see what role he's got. McTominay, there's interest, needs to go. Lindelof and Maguire need to go. Wan-Bissaka needs to go. There's a lot of deals that need to get done. Do we need to get them done in the next 2 weeks? Maybe not. Maybe some of them we do, though. A lot of people talking about this Obi from Arsenal. Can I be very, very honest about this Obi from Arsenal? I don't care. I really don't care, and I don't know why so many people are obsessed about it. Is it because he plays for Arsenal? Is it because people say he's a generational talent? I mean, we've done this so many times over the last 10 years. I was talking about it on the watch along. We bought a 16-year-old from Coventry a few years ago. I've never heard of him since. Can't remember what his bloody name was. So, you know, we should be doing this sort of thing, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be a superstar in the future. Like, I hope we do get him, but even if we don't get him, there'll be another 16-year-old that we can get from Ajax or somewhere like that. Like, as long we've just got to be, we've got to be in the game. I think the positive thing is that we're looking at these sort of deals, but there's no guarantee he's going to be the next Lionel Messi or the next Cristiano Ronaldo, you know. So to me, I'm more interested in what we're doing with the first team and what's happening next season. If we get this lad in and in 4 years' time he's one of the best players that's ever played football, brilliant. But I genuinely can tell you stories about how many times we've done this from the Van Gaal era to now. We've done this. We you know, Collier was brought in from Brighton. Like, we have been doing this for years, and it doesn't always lead to success. The most important thing is that you're doing it. But there seems to be a lot of people who think that this guy's going to be the next Messi, and I hope you're right. Not necessarily Messi, but they're acting like we've never done this before. Like, oh, it's another Ineos cooking thing. It genuinely isn't. We have been doing this for a long time. Our youth setup is actually very good. The job that Nick Cox and others have done is a success story. Like, we really have got a good youth setup, and we must look at ways to make it better. Regardless of his sacking, Rangnick is a legend, says Alex. Thank you very much. And also, we've done that one. Peter says Ronaldo and Messi will never be replicated. And like I said earlier, he's visited numerous clubs. It's nothing but a fishing expedition for a good contract, says Perk. No, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not that bothered enough to even look around and see what's actually going on, to be honest. More focused on other things. Anyway, look, Sunday morning show, 10 o'clock tomorrow. I always like the Sunday morning show because you get outlets in the UK that only come out on a Sunday, so we tend to get some interesting transfer stuff. Look, you never know. Romano never sleeps, and I don't think Ornstein does as well, so you never know. You could get a late 10 o'clock drop on a Saturday night. We'll have to wait and see. But fantastic day, really enjoyed it. Big up to the community, fantastic as per usual. Make sure you subscribe, by the way. We're getting ever closer to 1.9 million, and then we're on the road to 2. So bottom right hand corner to subscribe. Take care, everyone, stay safe, and I'll speak to you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thanks for watching.